Donkey Kong Bananza is coming out very soon for the Nintendo Switch 2, however, you might want to catch up on everything Donkey Kong has to offer via Nintendo Classics. So today I'm going to check out the history of Donkey Kong on the Nintendo Entertainment System, the Super Nintendo, the Game Boy, as we wait for the release of Donkey Kong Bananza on the Switch 2. Well, if you enjoyed the video, then hit that subscribe button down below for even more Nintendo content here on Power Up Direct. Okay, without further delay, let's dive into the Donkey Kong games available on Nintendo Classics, and then we're going to have a look at some of the games also available via Nintendo Switch as we build up to Donkey Kong Bananza. Well, first of all, we've got Donkey Kong on the Nintendo Entertainment System. So this one is a classic arcade platform game released by Nintendo in 1981. So in the game, you control Mario, then known as Jumpman, climbs ladders and jumps over obstacles to rescue a damsel named Pauline from Donkey Kong himself. So this marked Mario's first appearance in a video game and kicked off both the Donkey Kong and the Mario franchises. So the game was born out of a need to repurpose unsold arcade machines after Nintendo's previous game, Radar Scope, absolutely flopped. Nintendo President Hiroshi Yamauchi handed the project to a young and unproven designer named Shigeru Miyamoto, and drawing inspiration from King Kong, Popeye and even Beauty and the Beast, Miyamoto created a game that was groundbreaking for its time. So alongside engineer Gunpei Yokoi, he introduced storytelling through the cutscenes, distinct levels and characters with personality, which was pretty unusual for early arcade games. Donkey Kong was absolutely revolutionary. It's considered to be the first platformer introducing the idea of jumping between platforms, something that became a core mechanic in countless future games, and also helped define the damsel in distress trope in gaming. So when released, Donkey Kong became an instant hit, topping arcade charts in 1981 and 1982, and it was ported to various systems, including the Game & Watch and the ColecoVision, selling millions of units. Its Nintendo Entertainment System version was especially influential in expanding Japanese games to Western markets. Universal Studios even sued Nintendo, claiming it infringed on King Kong, and it was a lawsuit that Nintendo famously won. But in the end, Donkey Kong didn't just save Nintendo, it helped shape the video game industry. It made Mario a global icon and remains one of the most important and beloved games from the golden age of arcades. Next up, we got Donkey Kong Jr. released on the Nintendo Entertainment System. So this one was released in 1982 and a direct sequel to Donkey Kong. It features a twist on the original though. This time Mario takes on the role of the antagonist while the player controls Donkey Kong Jr., who's got to rescue his captured father. Initially launched in arcades, the game was later adapted for numerous home systems throughout the 1980s. So the game was primarily designed by Shigeru Miyamoto with significant contributions from Gunpei Yokoi, and that was Nintendo's chief engineer. Miyamoto also worked on the game's visuals alongside Yoshio Sakamoto, and the soundtrack, as with the original Donkey Kong, was composed by Yukio Kanioka. Next up, we got Donkey Kong 3. So Donkey Kong 3 is a 1983 shoot-'em-up arcade game developed by Nintendo, and this is the third entry to the Donkey Kong series, but it is a massive shift from the gameplay from the previous two. So rather than featuring Mario, the game introduces a new protagonist, Stanley, a bug exterminator tasked with driving Donkey Kong away by using insect repellent. So it debuted in arcades worldwide in 1983, followed by the release on the Famicom in 1984, and later on the Nintendo Entertainment System in North America in 1986. Well, the game saw very modest success in Japan, underperformed commercially in the United States, and that led to a hiatus in the Donkey Kong franchise until the release of Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo. Well, next up we got Donkey Kong Jr. Math, also on the Nintendo Entertainment System. So this one is an educational platform game released by Nintendo for the Nintendo Entertainment System. So it's a spin-off of Donkey Kong Jr. and features Donkey Kong Jr. solving math problems created by his father, Donkey Kong. And the game first launched in Japan in 1983, and also the game came to North America and Europe in 1986. So it's notable as the only title in the Nintendo Entertainment System Education series released in North America, mainly because it didn't really do well commercially or critically. Over the years, it was re-released in games like Animal Crossing for the GameCube, and on the Virtual Console for the Wii, Wii U, and again in 2024 via the Nintendo Classic service. Now, despite Nintendo's effort to blend learning with gameplay, Donkey Kong Jr. Math was widely criticised. Outlets like IGN labelled it as one of the worst Virtual Console games, citing dull gameplay and a lack of educational value. Well, next up we got Donkey Kong Country. This is on the Super Nintendo. So Donkey Kong Country, known as Super Donkey Kong in Japan, is a 1994 platform game developed by Rare and published by Nintendo for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. So the game reboots the classic Donkey Kong franchise and follows Donkey Kong and his nephew Diddy Kong as they journey through the jungle to recover their stolen banana hoard from the villainous King K. Rool and his army, the Kremlings. So players explore 40 side-scrolling levels filled with platforming challenges, enemies, minecart rides, animal companions, and hidden bonus stages. The game also features multiplayer modes allowing two players to work together or to compete. So the game broke new ground with its pre-rendered graphics, which turned 3D models into 2D sprites with unprecedented detail on a home console. Though the original creator Shigeru Miyamoto wasn't leading the project, he did contribute some design ideas. So it was unveiled at the 1994 Consumer Electronics Show, and excitement was absolutely sky high. Nintendo launched a $16 million marketing campaign in North America alone, and upon release in November 1994, the game was met with critical acclaim. It was super successful. Reviewers praised the visuals, the gameplay, the music, often comparing it to the Super Mario series. Well, it sold over 9 million copies. Donkey Kong Country became the third best-selling Super Nintendo game ever and helped solidify the Super Nintendo's success during a very competitive era with Sega. Well, next up we got Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy Kong's Quest, also on the Super Nintendo. This one was released in 1995. It's a platform game developed by Rare and published by Nintendo, once again for the Super Nintendo, and it's the second game in the Donkey Kong series and the direct sequel to the original. This time, players control Diddy Kong and his girlfriend Dixie Kong as they set out to rescue Donkey Kong, who's been kidnapped by the evil King K. Rool once again. The adventure takes place on Crocodile Isle and spans 8 worlds with 52 levels, each packed with challenges, secrets, and unique environments as well. The game used the same technology, the rendered 3D graphics that made the original stand out, giving it a really nice rich looking feel on the Super Nintendo. It was later re-released for the Game Boy Advance in 2004 and also available on the Wii and the Wii U Virtual Console platform. Well, next up we got the sequel. It's Donkey Kong Country 3 Dixie Kong's Double Trouble, also released on the Super Nintendo. So this one was released in 1996, and this time players take on Dixie Kong and her cousin Kiddy Kong as they set out to rescue Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, who've been kidnapped once again by King K. Rool. So the adventure this time takes place in the Northern Cremasphere, a fictional region inspired by Northern Europe and also Canada as well. So it uses the same graphics as before, and the game was released in November 1996 in North America and Japan, and shortly after in Europe and Australia. And once again the game was re-released for the Game Boy Advance in 2005 and made available on the Wii and the Wii U Virtual Console in 2007 and also 2014 as well. Well, next up we got Donkey Kong Land. This one is on the Game Boy. So this one was known in Japan as Super Donkey Kong GB, and it's a 1995 platform game developed by Rare and also published by Nintendo for the Game Boy. It adapts the gameplay of Donkey Kong Country for a handheld system, but also got new levels and new bosses as well. Players control Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong as they travel through 30 levels to reclaim their stolen bananas from King K. Rool. So development began in 1994, even before Donkey Kong Country was finished. Programmer Paul Makachek pushed to make Land an original title rather than a direct port, and Rare adjusted the visuals and the gameplay to fit the Game Boy's limitations. But like Country, it used pre-rendered graphics and compressed sprite-based systems, now with music adapted by David Wise and Graham Norgate for the Game Boy's sound chip. It was released in mid-1995 and Donkey Kong Land sold nearly 4 million copies and received really positive reviews for capturing the spirit of Donkey Kong Country on a smaller screen. Next up we got Donkey Kong Land 2, also on the Game Boy. This one also developed by Rare and published by Nintendo for the Game Boy and released in late 1996. And it's a direct sequel to the original Donkey Kong Land, published previously. So the game follows the story and style of Donkey Kong Country 2 with Diddy Kong and Dixie Kong teaming up once again. It was designed for the Super Game Boy, adding the colour enhancements and also a custom banana themed border on TV screens. And like its predecessor, it came in a distinctive banana yellow cartridge. The game was pretty well received, and the game was also re-released on the Nintendo 3DS Virtual Console, and also added to Nintendo Classics that we're going through today. But then we got Donkey Kong Land 3, also on the Game Boy. This one was released in 1997, also developed by Rare and Nintendo for the Game Boy. It acts as a portable follow-up to the Super Nintendo counterpart, in this case Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. So players control Dixie, now teamed up with Kiddy Kong for another side-scrolling adventure, and the game was enhanced for the Super Game Boy, offering colour accents, and also a custom border when played on a TV. A special Game Boy Color version was released in Japan only in the year 2000, and that one was titled Donkey Kong Game Boy, Dinky Kong and Dixie Kong. Well, that is it for Nintendo Classics, but we're not done there yet. Donkey Kong also features on a few games on Nintendo Switch, so let's go through those now. First of all, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. This one was originally released in 2014. It's developed by Retro Studios, famous for Metroid of course, and also published by Nintendo for the Wii U. So it's the 5th game in the Donkey Kong Country series and a direct sequel to Donkey Kong Country Returns from 2010. And then we had the enhanced version of the game released on the Switch in May 2018. So the story begins on Donkey Kong's birthday, and a group of icy invaders called the Snowmads, they freeze over Donkey Kong Island, and Donkey Kong and his family must travel across 5 unique islands to reclaim their home. So the game was really well received, often cited as one of the best platformers on Nintendo Switch and the Wii U. Critics praised the creative level design, the tight gameplay mechanics, the platforming, the jumping, the soundtrack, although some found the game's difficulty level to be a little bit steep. Well, next up we got Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. So Donkey Kong Country Returns, that was originally released in 2010, developed by Retro Studios for the Wii. So in the game, Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong set out to reclaim their stolen bananas from the Tiki Tak tribe, who've hypnotised island animals to do their bidding. It was the first Donkey Kong Country game not developed by Rare, and the first after Rare was acquired by Microsoft. The game was a critical and commercial success, selling over 6.5 million copies, and critics praised its visuals, the level design, the gameplay, though the motion controls and the difficulty did get quite mixed reactions. A 3DS port called Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D launched in 2013, and an HD version for the Nintendo Switch, titled Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, was released in January 2025, that is this year, and its sequel Tropical Freeze was released in January 2025. Well, finally then, we've got Mario vs Donkey Kong for the Nintendo Switch. So Mario vs Donkey Kong was originally a 2004 puzzle platform game for the Game Boy Advance, and it is a spiritual successor to the 1994 Donkey Kong game. Players control Mario as he solves puzzles and platforming challenges to find keys and rescue mini Marios from Donkey Kong, and the game was highly praised for the gameplay and also the graphics too. It launched a series with the sequel Mario vs Donkey Kong 2, March of the Minis, released on the Nintendo DS in 2006, and the remake for the Nintendo Switch came out in February 2024. Well, that is it. As you can see, loads of Donkey Kong is available via Nintendo Switch, so let me know in the comments your favourite Donkey Kong game, and if it's not on this list, let me know your favourites down there in the comments. Well, that is it for this video today, looking at all the Donkey Kong games to play on Nintendo Switch. And as always, thank you so much for watching or for listening. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below for even more Nintendo content here on Power Up Direct. Thanks again, and I'll see you real soon.